Hey everybody, thank you for coming to watch. So I've got you guys an update on some very active times coming up. We're dealing with two major winter storm systems that have begun to move through the central and eastern portions of the United States. First off, you can see that we're still dealing with Winter Storm Ember, which is currently visible on your screen. This is moving just off the coast of the Northeast. That was bringing some very heavy snow to some areas. That is wrapping up as we get through tonight. But Winter Storm Finn is just on the horizon, and it's right here. It's a few jumbled pieces of energy that are really just going to get going here. It's a lot of snowfall going up from the Dakotas all the way down through the portions of New Mexico and Arizona. All right, I've got you guys a packed video tonight on what's going to be happening with this system, and then what's going to be happening after it moves out. So taking a look here at our current alerts, you can see we are very active. This is actually probably the most active I've seen the United States in probably a year by now. All right, but we'll start out in the Northeast. All right, winter storm warnings have dropped for pretty much everybody, but in the Boston area, that's where we still have winter storm warnings. All right, we have high wind warnings going out for areas along the Great Lakes of upstate New York, and then up in this darker brown shade up into areas of Vermont. That's where we have high wind watches. All right, and then we just got issued a flood watch here for areas of New Jersey, going all the way down through PA, and then eventually into Delaware. All right, and then we also do have high wind watches also going out for areas of southern New England. All right, and this is all in preparation for that second storm that's going to be coming in tomorrow for areas in the central United States, and then Tuesday and Wednesday for the eastern United States. All right, but you also do have those high wind warnings, or sorry, high wind watches going down the Carolina coastline. Now going to the central United States, we can see in this light brown shade, this is a big area that's in under a wind advisory. We have tons of wind to talk about, guys. This is going to be such a dynamic system that the winds are just going to be so strong out here. But you can see this is going out for all of Arkansas, all of Oklahoma, all of Texas, all of Louisiana, all of Mississippi, really all of Alabama, and then the entire western half of Tennessee. That is a huge area that is under a high wind advisory there. All right, but you can see in this kind of gold shade here, we have high wind warnings going out for areas towards the panhandle of Texas, and then going up to areas of northern Texas, we have high wind watches. In this orange shade, we have blizzard warnings going out for areas of extreme northern Texas, areas of western Kansas, and then areas into southeastern Colorado. Also into northeastern New Mexico, we have blizzard warnings as well. All right, so this big area is really going to be seeing some bad conditions from dangerous conditions from this next winter storm. All right, in this pink shade, we've got winter storm warnings. All right, this is going out for areas of the Midwest, including eastern Nebraska into northern Kansas, northern Missouri, and then areas of western Iowa. All right, surrounding areas in the purple shade are under winter weather advisories. You got winter storm watches going out for areas of southern Wisconsin down through northern and western Illinois, areas just north of the St. Louis area. All right, and then areas in eastern Iowa. In the western U.S., it's a whole it's a terrible mess out here. There's in this purple shade, we have hard freeze warnings. All right, so kind of like a flash freeze. Sorry, it's kind of hard to explain, but a hard freeze warning just means that it's gonna get so cold that I don't know I don't know really how to describe it, but basically what you could just say is that these are freeze warnings, and you also just do have regular freeze warnings. Areas just south of that into southern Arizona. Same thing for areas in California. We have freeze warnings in that extreme dark purple shade. Spotty areas out here into Colorado, Utah, areas of eastern Arizona, and then areas of northern New Mexico are under winter storm warnings in the pink shade. Then up into the Pacific Northwest, we have blizzard warnings going out for areas of Washington State all the way down through Oregon State. Got winter storm winter storm watches for areas of southern Oregon, and then into southern Idaho, and then in this pink shade, going into northern Idaho and areas of Montana and Washington State, we have winter storm warning. So that took a long time to get through those alerts. That just shows you how active we are, just for the preparation of this next system. So taking a look here at the north central United States, I've got you guys your winter storm breakdown. So winter storm Finn is going to be moving through the area. This is going to be coming in tomorrow, and you can already see we got low pressure starting to form out there into areas of Colorado and Wyoming. Here's your first band of snow. It's starting to set up way up into portions of North Dakota, but it's all these little bands and pieces of energy that are just going to come together and really just becomes dynamic, negatively tilted trough, which is another word for basically our storm system. But you got heavy snow into areas of northern Nebraska, and then there will be some snow in between these bands from North Dakota all the way through Nebraska. It's just not visible in the NAM just yet, but we're already seeing uh, the heavy snow by 10 p.m. tonight. So this is really just in an hour. For when I'm filming this video. So we continue throughout tonight. Notice how these bands get a little bit heavier, a little bit more widespread, and there's that rainfall on the southern side. You're starting to see some frozen precipitation, kind of a wintry mix, start to come into play as we get into the early morning hours of tomorrow into southeastern uh, Nebraska. We've got very heavy snow in between areas of southern Minnesota into South Dakota. All right. And then you got some thunderstorms, showers and thunderstorms moving their way across Kansas and Oklahoma. You got heavy snow off to the west of all this. So really, it's going to be kind of those systems where you see the backside snowfall because all that warm air is on the front side, making that precipitation in the warm sector all rain, and then on the backside where it's still cold, you're going to see snow. All right. So taking this out to, we'll take this out to tomorrow afternoon. Look how heavy this snow gets. This is very heavy snow, and I mean, late tomorrow morning, guys. If you are in extreme western Iowa, and then specifically, really, it's eastern Nebraska. I'm watching for blizzard conditions. This will be a blizzard for some areas. All right, we're gonna see whiteout conditions, blizzard conditions. This is not a good winter storm, guys. This is really gonna be maybe the most impactful storm system of this winter. We're talking about major impacts from the system, but it's snowing like crazy in areas of eastern Nebraska into western Iowa. A lot of heavy snow moving into portions of southern Minnesota, and then everybody on the backside, even into areas of northern Kansas. Notice how you'll start out as rainfall, maybe heavy at times, but as a storm system moves north, pushing into that cold front, all that frontal rainfall is going to change over to snow for areas into Kansas and then eventually into Missouri. So watch out for that. If you start out with heavy rainfall, you may switch over quickly to heavy snowfall, replacing the heavy rainfall. But we're getting into dinner time tomorrow. You've got storms raging through the deep south, but into the upper Midwest. All right, and into areas of Kansas, the high plains here, right around that low pressure. You still got very heavy snowfall. This is starting to cool down a little bit, but northern Missouri is still hanging on to very heavy snowfall, and then we continue this throughout the night. But notice how all the way through the run, we're just about halfway. All right, stopping this at 9 p.m. tomorrow night. The snow just continues to get heavier and it continues to get bigger, and we just see this massive area that's experiencing heavy snowfall. This band of very heavy snowfall, this would be extremely wet heavy snowfall because it's close to that warm front that would be moving through central Illinois. Watch out, guys. And if the low pressure takes a southerly track, meaning it takes the track through southern Oklahoma rather than northern Oklahoma, all the snow is going to be shifted farther south. That's still a possibility, but it's still going to be snowing all the way up towards areas of northern Minnesota, but all the way down through Iowa and then areas of eastern Kansas. It's going to be snowing very heavily, but central Illinois, I would really watch out. Chicago's going to get a big winter storm from this. You guys are pretty much in the perfect area, all right, for this to happen. But we're getting into Tuesday now, all right? This is tomorrow. Now we get into Tuesday. This is the middle of the night. Notice how we start to see the cold air interacts with that warm air. We actually see the freezing rain start to form in portions of Indiana. All right, I think that there's going to be enough interaction with the cold air and the warm air that we're going to see more unstableness in the atmosphere. it's obviously not warm enough for severe weather. That just means we're going to see storminess. That's calling for heavy precipitation. Either it's going to be snowfall, rainfall, or frozen precipitation. But we click for sounding to see what temperature we're at. We're at 33 degrees. That's going to call for snow. So I think that this is going to change over to extremely heavy snow for Indiana. We see what happens, and bam, look at that. Northern Indiana gets a heck of a band of snowfall for a few hours in the very early morning hours of tomorrow. Everybody else, though, in Indiana is still hanging on to very heavy rainfall as the system moves through. All right, you're still dealing with blizzard conditions, whiteout conditions across the Midwest. This is probably going to be one of the hardest hit regions from the system. All right, but that rain and snow line is going to push farther north with the warm air, and that's going to change, everybody in Indiana and then Ohio back over to rainfall. All right, but areas on the backside, areas on the backside. I know it kind of sounds like I'm saying Arizona backside. No, areas on the backside of the system back into the upper Midwest are going to stay as all snow. That is where you're going to get, a foot, maybe even more, depends on where you are. But these bands are going to set up perfectly for areas of Chicago and just north into portions of Wisconsin before this moves out. And this is just a horrible mess. But we're seeing just a deepening low pressure, and that snow it comes in very hot, though. I would say this is going to be a bad one for eastern Kansas and eastern Nebraska. These bands of snow could really be impactful for your Monday and your Tuesday. But on the backside, you're going to get high pressure, and you're going to see very cold and dry air replace the storm system. All right. So switching our sides to the southern U.S., or it's the south central United States, we look at what's going to be happening underneath the system, because this is going to be like a cross country storm. So we have to figure out what's going to be happening for every region. So looking at the south central United States, all right, we can see this comes in with those thunderstorms. These may be severe as early as tomorrow morning, all right? But I really think the severe potential is going to be later in the day, before these lines of storms really get going. But I think we will see some tornado, maybe a tornado watch go up in this region. Some tornado warnings will certainly be up there, severe thunderstorm warnings. But you got storms raging across areas of eastern Texas. DFW area is going to get hit very hard tomorrow on areas of eastern Oklahoma. This is going to be pushing into Arkansas and the Gulf Coast states. This is when that severe potential ramps up. Notice how you have discrete cells, all right, on the front side of the system, where that cape really builds. You're going to get discrete rotating supercells, which means they're individual supercells that have enough room to rotate, and they can really do whatever they want. Once you see that line of storms kind of join together, it forms the damaging wind gust line. We don't see that. So, we continue this through tomorrow evening, all right? And we still have just nasty looking thunderstorms. These are going to be rotating. These are going to be supercells, and some of these could be very strong. I'm watching the Texarkana area, but the three corner state area of Louisiana, Arkansas, and Texas. I'm watching that area for maybe some of the stronger supercells, but this will continue as a nocturnal tornado threat, and I think this could be an outbreak, guys. But a tornado outbreak, all right, and then this moves into the southeast. But yes, there's going to be some raging thunderstorms on the south side of the system, and so we'll look at the southeastern United States, all right, in just a moment. But yeah, these line of storms are just going to continue moving on, and it's really just it's not looking good because the dynamics have lined up perfectly for these supercells to be rotating just because of how strong that lower level jet is going to be and just how much moisture is going to be loaded into the atmosphere while it's ripping out there. All right. So we look at the southeast. So what happens beyond that time? All right. So this is tomorrow. We're going to see these storms continue through this region all of tomorrow. This is tomorrow night. We're getting to midnight. Notice how you see this long line of reds and pinks. That is your damaging wind gust line. That is what's forming here. So luckily, it's not going to be the middle of the night when you're going to see the tornadoes. I do think there's a chance for some tornado warnings to go up for areas of Tennessee into Kentucky. All right, that's possible, but I really do think the severe weather threat it's going to be there for sure. It's just going to switch from a tornado threat to a damaging wind gust threat because that line here, the squall line that is going to be pushing to the east. It's going to be moving very fast with that system, but it's pushing to the east, moving across Mississippi and Louisiana. All right, throughout the middle of the night, tomorrow night into Tuesday. But notice how that line starts to break apart once again. We see this frontal storms develop now getting to the morning hours of Tuesday. Now, Tuesday, we see this line, this squall line, it's still there and it's actually looking very strong. So I think the tornado potential, all right, for tomorrow in the southeast, I think, for Tuesday in the southeast, I think it's going to be farther north where the line is, closer to the low pressure center, but where the line isn't tailing off. Where you see that damaging wind gust line, this is moving right across Alabama and Georgia. I'm worrying for maybe up to hurricane force winds possible with this system on Tuesday. This is going to be moving across Alabama and Georgia. But when you see a line that is this, it kind of looks like a perfect line. It's a very sharp contrast between no precipitation and just a quick uh line of thunderstorms. That is how you can tell it's a damaging wind gust line, a squall line that moves through. And you commonly see it with Jericho's, where you can actually see that almost it looks like a wall at best, of just winds coming towards you, and then it just moves right through. All right. I hope I explained that in the best way possible, but this is moving through the area. This is mid-afternoon Tuesday. We could have school closures because if these winds are strong enough, you know how a bus is like it's got a very long body, if you were to say, all right, and so the winds are easily able to push up against the school bus, kind of like how semi trucks are at risk of tip over because of the winds being able to even it out the weight of the truck. That's going to be happening with those buses too. So if those buses get knocked over because of how strong the winds are, that's just not a good recipe. All right, so there will be school closures out there in the southeast, but this line continues, and this could actually extend all the way up from areas of West Virginia down to Florida. So this is a massive line of storms that eventually this tornado threat would be down by now. But this is late afternoon Tuesday, and this line of storms is finally pushing off to the east. But then we see yet another round of maybe some more tornado potential for the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and maybe some water spouts possible as well, even down into Florida. All right, but that finally moves offshore as the system moves into the northeast. So that is a very impactful line of storms. You're going to see an on and off tornado threat and a damaging wind gust threat. All right, tornado threat's probably going to continue to about the middle of the night tomorrow into tomorrow night, and then I'll switch over to that damaging wind gust line. But I'll just run through the model run here quickly, and just that is a strong looking system because usually these severe weather events, they don't last this long, and this is why we're calling this a multi-day severe weather event or severe weather outbreak. Because when you see an outbreak this strong, I you know some of these outbreaks do eventually become multi-day severe weather outbreaks, but very rarely do you see the storm continue to gain strength as it moves on and it doesn't weaken. All right, so we look at why. Sorry, let me get rid of that for a second. All right, so back to what I wanted to look at. So we look at why the severe weather is going to be happening and why it's just going to be so extreme at an extreme level. Well, it's because number one, the Cape. The Cape is basically thunderstorm juice that's in the atmosphere. How much energy does it have? Do these storms have to keep going? That's what the Cape is. So really, anything over 2,000 joules per kilograms of Cape, joules per uh, joules per kilograms of Cape is above average, meaning that that's enough to support severe thunderstorms. All right, so we're getting Monday to Tuesday here. All right, and you see these blues showing up. We're getting just above 1,500 joules per kilograms of Cape. So we're definitely going to have enough energy left in the atmosphere to continue with these storms on. But you can see in the Gulf, I mean, things are very, very active. All right, we're getting close to 3,000 joules per kilograms of cake, which I'll tell you guys, that is definitely enough to cause some thunderstorms. And we can actually see, look at this, 3,000 joules per kilograms of cake right here in the Louisiana coastline. That is certainly enough to keep these severe thunderstorms going. But you can see that, as that line started to get a little bit weaker, it looked a little weaker going from Georgia to South Carolina. You can see that the Cape levels kind of died down a little bit here. All right, but if you looked at the surface base Cape, all right, it's still going to be there. You can see that. All right, but going back to our most unstable Cape is what we want to look at. You can see what that tornado potential that might ramp up going into the Carolinas. Well, here it is. It's not looking that strong on the NAM. All right, but that definitely is going to come back as the system pulls in moisture also from the Atlantic Ocean. All right. So now we look at our current SPC outlook. This is our Storm Prediction Center outlook. They issue these, kind of severe weather percentages and risks when a severe weather event happens. All right. So we look at our categorical outlook. Or sorry, this is just our regular outlook here. All right. So let me move myself so you can see our meter. All right, so we're up to an enhanced risk. This is a level 3 out of 5 risk in your orange area. All right, I think that we may get up to a moderate risk tomorrow. All right, it's very rare to see a moderate risk, but I think it's possible with this kind of system because of the dynamics. All right. But you can see in this orange area, we see the Gulf Coast of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and then far western Florida under this risk. This was issued today. All right, surrounding areas in this yellow risk. We have that slight risk, which is level 2 out of 5 risk. All right, this is extending from areas near Houston all the way out towards just areas off to the west of Tallahassee, Florida. But we see areas a little bit farther north into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama seeing that slight risk. Now, past that, where we're going to see general thunderstorms that are going to be strong, some may be severe, is up into areas of far north Texas. We're getting all the way up towards Oklahoma, but Dallas, Texas, all right, the DFW area, Shreveport, Louisiana, going up to Arkansas, in the midsection of Mississippi, and then eventually into Alabama, and then this ends right on Tallahassee in Florida. All right, so this is a pretty populated area. We see some big cities like Mobile, Alabama, New Orleans, in Louisiana that are under this big risk for severe weather. So the worst case scenario is that you get a big tornado, a damaging tornado that moves through a populated area. All right, but we're not up to the tornadoes yet, but now I guess we are. All right. So this is your tornado outlook. We have a 10% hatched risk for severe weather. All right. So, a tornado. Apologize about my English. It's terrible. All right. But this means that we have a 10 to 14% risk of seeing a tornado in this area, which is in this hatched area, which means there's significant probability of a tornado. This is including that same area of that enhanced risk, including New Orleans and Mobile, Alabama. All right, this is going through the Gulf Coast of Louisiana. Actually, this was just farther north than the immediate coast. All right, but this is including the coasts of Alabama and Mississippi, and then just off to the west of Mobile into western Florida. All right, surrounding areas, you have a 5 to 9% risk in the red shade, and then a 2 to 4% risk in the green shade. All right, so that is your tornado potential or your tornado outlook. All right, this is your damaging wind gust outlook. All right, you notice how that line of storms, a more convincing line of storms, was moving through Alabama and Georgia. I think that that's going to be more for the day 2 outlook that we're going to see that bigger risk, but we already do have another hatched risk here. We have a 30 to 44% risk of seeing damaging wind gusts in this area. All right, this is in that red area, which is including the Gulf Coast of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, going into far western Florida. You got New Orleans, Louisiana, and Mobile, Alabama, both in that risk area. All right. Surrounding areas, you have the 15 to 29% risk in the yellow shade. That's still a very high risk considered for damaging wind gusts. So you definitely have a decent chance of seeing damaging wind gusts in these surrounding areas, which is extending from Houston to areas to the west of Tallahassee. So that same area of that slight risk, surrounding areas of that risk in the 5 to 14% risk. That is the same area as the marginal risk, which is your level 1 out of 5 risk. All right. And so finally, we look at our hail outlook for tomorrow. It's not really looking that bad with our hail, which is good because hail can definitely be dangerous. All right, but we still have a 15 to 29% risk, non-hatched though. This is extending from Houston, Texas, all the way through the Gulf Coast of Mississippi. You can see Lake Charles, Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, and then Houston, Texas are all in that yellow shaded area here, and then surrounding areas 5 to 14% risk, including Mobile, Alabama, Jackson, Mississippi, Shreveport, Louisiana, and then areas surrounding kind of the Houston area, just south of Dallas and the DFW area, so farther into eastern Texas. All right, so that was your day 2 outlook. I'm sorry, this is your outlook for tomorrow. Now we look at Tuesday. All right, so this is our outlook for Tuesday. We have a enhanced risk once again for severe weather, so a double enhanced risk. All right, and this is 3 days out, so we still don't have our categorical outlook. So, usually when this happens, when you have the most confidence in this forecast 3 days out, all right, with an enhanced risk already up, that usually means that this is going to be upgraded, and that means that we're going to go to a moderate risk, which is a level 4 out of 5 risk. That is very rare, and I think that we're probably going to get up to a moderate risk tomorrow. But we have an enhanced risk that is including Tallahassee, Florida. That is including areas of far southeastern Georgia, and then also areas of far western Florida. All right, southeastern Alabama is also in that risk. All right, but Tallahassee is the only major city that we can really see in that risk. Surrounding areas, though, this is a big area. All right, let me move myself so you can see. This is a big area, though, going into the slight risk. You have areas all the way up from the Outer Banks of North Carolina down through Florida. This is going down through the Panhandle. You've got Tampa, Florida, Melbourne, Tallahassee, Jacksonville. You definitely have some big cities. I believe Orlando is in this risk as well. That's your level 2 out of 5. You got Wilmington, North Carolina, Columbia, Charleston. All right, areas south of Atlanta. All right, and then in that level 1 out of 5 risk, that green shaded area, you have basically just the surrounding areas of that slight risk, which is also the yellow risk. All right, so that was your severe weather kind of aspect of the system. Now we look at totals, your snow totals. I did not mean to put this after the severe weather event, but here we go. Here's your snowfall totals on the system. These are your official snowfall totals. This is what you can expect. And look at this. This is why this is going to be a blizzard, guys. Look how much snow could fall into eastern Nebraska. We saw that heavy band setting up. Well, here it is. We're talking about, maybe close to 20 inches for maybe everybody out there towards the border of Iowa and Nebraska. But, in this entire purple shade, you can expect a foot or more of snowfall, all right? But, this is where we're going to see blizzard conditions. This is where this will be a blizzard. I do believe we will definitely see blizzard warnings. I don't remember if they're up for this area yet, but we will definitely see blizzard warnings come up at least tonight, later, and then eventually by tomorrow. All right, but surrounding areas, all right, this is pretty interesting. We can actually see, all right, everybody in Iowa, except for those areas that are closer to the coastline, or sorry, the border, are seeing 5 to 7 inches of snow, really, with some areas that may see a little bit lighter totals. But if you're down towards northern Missouri and these deeper shades of purple, you could expect maybe a little bit closer to a foot of snow, and then that goes into the rest of Missouri and eventually central Missouri. Talking about 3 to 5 inches of snow, 3 to 6 inches. We'll look at here. This is the St. Louis metro area. We're going for 1 to 3 inches down through south central Missouri, we could see a little bit more snow. All right, if the backside cold air could kind of mix in uh, with the precipitation, but into northern Kansas, we're talking about up to a foot of snow. The rest of Kansas looks like 2 to 4 inches. All right, but some areas down towards southern Kansas may see a little bit less snow from the system. Going into central Illinois, the NAM doesn't want as much snow to fall than what I expected, but definitely blizzard conditions in this area. But we can actually see widespread, 8 to 10 inches. Central Illinois going for about 7 inches of snow. Northern Illinois, 6 to 8 inches for sure. All right, but areas into southern Illinois as well, 2 to 4 inches is what you could expect. Then even areas off to Indiana. This is where we actually saw the very heavy snowfall for a few hours set up. Well, NAM's in favor of 8 to 10 inches, and if you're off to Ohio, maybe you could actually end up with a foot of snow. That could extend into southern Michigan, but we can see areas into southern Minnesota seeing around a foot of snow. If you're in the southwestern portion of Minnesota, the rest of southern Minnesota could definitely see 8 to 10 inches and then into Wisconsin. All right, 7 to 9 inches, 7 to 10 inches, a general, you know, total. All right, but some areas will see less snow from the system, especially if you're farther north. And then this will get a little tricky because some spotty areas will see more snowfall, like into Ohio, for example. Here, 7 inches in central Ohio. So these spotty bands that you see here, that's where you could expect maybe I would say really 2 to 4 inches, but some of these areas will actually end up getting a little bit more than 4 inches, because you can actually see in these purple shades we're still dealing with 6 to 8 inches. Now into Michigan, all right, northern and central Michigan, I would say, right around 5 inches. Some areas will see higher amounts, definitely central Michigan, but some areas will also see lower amounts like northern Michigan, all right? So, yeah, it's a very big area. A lot of areas seeing some very big totals, but guys, I mean, it's going to be an all out blizzard for areas of Nebraska into areas of Iowa, and then also into um, far southwestern Minnesota. So I would really urge you guys to tune into your local weather station, news station, whatever, and just be ready and be prepared for whatever however the storm is going to be impacting your area, because this is really going to be an impactful one. All right. So we look at areas a little bit further south. We're looking at areas that are going to be impacting very shortly in just a few hours. We're going to run through this quickly, but we can see back into areas of Colorado, the mountains of Colorado, 8 to 10 inches. Surrounding areas could definitely pick up 2 to 4 inches of snow. Down towards northern Texas, things get a little bit funny here. I would say 1 to 3 inches, but some areas may see a little bit closer to 4 inches. Panhandle of Oklahoma up to 4 inches as well. All right. But yeah, I really wouldn't expect any major totals in like this area. All right. But then obviously this area is going to be dealing with the more major snowfall totals. All right. So now we have our flooding potential with this system. All right. I'm closing in on 10 o'clock Eastern time, so I really want to get this through. All right. So this is your day 2 outlook. This is for tomorrow. This is Monday through Tuesday. All right. So Monday to extreme early morning hours of Tuesday, we have a moderate risk. This actually got upgraded to a moderate risk, a level 3 out of 4 risk for flash flooding. At least a 40% chance of seeing a flash flood within this area. But guys, these thunderstorms could be so intense that the amount of rainfall that they drop could lead to flash flooding, and this is what you're seeing here. So this is including New Orleans and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. All right, but areas into southern Mississippi as well included in this moderate risk. Surrounding areas extending pretty far into the rest of Louisiana or central Louisiana, central and southern Mississippi, and then really, all of Alabama except northern Alabama, and then also stretching into areas of Georgia. We have the slight risk, and even surrounding areas of that, we have the marginal risk, which is level 5, which is a level at least a 5% risk of seeing flash flooding. Yellow risk, slight risk, is a at least a 15% risk. All right, so now we look at our day 3 outlook. This shifts off to the east, and we still have another moderate risk. This hasn't changed. You got that moderate risk for northern New Jersey, areas down towards southeastern PA. I think this actually did get extended. Now this is including Philadelphia. This is including Trenton, New Jersey. So big cities out here just off to the west of New York City, but big cities out here under the moderate risk level 40 or 40% chance of seeing flash flooding. Surrounding areas, though, going all the way out from the Appalachian Mountain region through the Piedmont Mountain region. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right as well, but all the way up through New England and then into southern New England and the Northeast. We have the slight risk, which is level 15% risk. All right. Surrounding areas of that, we have a marginal risk level 5, a 5% risk. Keep saying level, I don't know why. All right. So rainfall totals on the system. Gosh, gotta get this done with. All right. But rainfall totals on this system. You can see the East Coast, up and down the East Coast. We're talking about, probably, I would say, let me get this drawing off your screen. All right. I would say definitely, around 2 inches. All right. But all the way up and down the East Coast, guys, extending from the Gulf Coast to the East Coast. In this purple and red shade, we're talking about 2 to 4 inches of rain. And if you are in this shade here, all right, or this shade here, all right, or with this lighter red, you could see up to 5 inches of rain. That's going to lead to widespread flash flooding in this area, but there could be dangerous flooding. I think there will be really going out for interior regions of North Carolina and South Carolina through the southeast, but into southern New England, guys, and this would be affecting New York City. We could see some dangerous flash flooding, and then if you're off to the west of all this, maybe even into the areas that are going to see just snow from the system, we could still be dealing with an inch to an inch and a half of rainfall, even going out for areas of the Midwest. All right. So yes, this will bring rainfall to some areas that are still going to see those significant snow totals, but man, the eastern U.S. is going to be just dumped on with that rainfall and snowfall in the next coming days. All right, so we look at our wind gusts. All right, we saw there were high wind watches and advisories that were up for areas of the central and eastern U.S. Well, we see how that's going to affect us. Well, this system begins to move through the southeast, this area that is under currently the wind advisory. All right, and you can see nothing really seems to be getting its act together. These are your storms firing across the southeast, but you've got very strong storms coming out of the north because of that cold air. That cold air is really going to be intense as it moves down into the system, but this is going to be moving through northern Texas. You can see winds up to 60 miles per hour in northern Texas. This could cause power outages even into Kansas and Colorado. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, wind gusts over 50 miles per hour. All right, but everybody out here is very gusty. All right, it's going to be very windy out there into the Midwest tomorrow. In the rest of the Southeast, we're talking about 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts. All right, but when does the storm really get its act together? It's really not until later where we can actually see the damaging wind gusts move through Alabama here, Georgia. We could see 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, maybe even extending all the way up towards the Ohio River Valley into West Virginia, Kentucky, and into Tennessee. But this is moving off to the east. This is where things get interesting and things get dangerous. All right. These winds could be so strong that these could cause widespread power outages. Keep in mind also central Georgia, going for 65 mile per hour wind gusts here on the, this is the GFS, all right? But no, watch as we get into Tuesday. These winds really ramp up because of how much moisture this storm is going to be trying. It's going to be packing all of its strength into pulling up as much moisture as it can from the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. But once this interacts with the Atlantic, these winds get very strong. We can see immediately we're seeing widespread wind gusts well over 60 miles per hour, all the way up and down, the coast, really going all the way up from Maryland down through the Outer Banks of North Carolina. But the mountains of North Carolina could be dealing with very strong wind gusts, and then into DC, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Here's that band of or the strong winds that we have in the area that's under the high wind warning, going for wind gusts right around 60 miles per hour. All right. But this gets even stronger, and bam! Look at this. This is going to be impacting New York City, but southern New England could see maybe the most significant damaging wind event that we've seen in years. Maybe 70 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts that are just going to be offshore. But guys, 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts all across the coast here. New York City going for 63 miles per hour. Atlantic City 70 miles per hour. So the coast of New Jersey could be gusting to 70 miles per hour, which is right around hurricane force. All right. This is going to cause widespread power outages. I do think that we will see school closures. All right. But guys, I mean, this is just not something that you want to be seeing out here. But New York City still gusting to 60 at this point. This is Tuesday into Wednesday. All right, you still got 70-mile-per-hour gusts on the New Jersey coastline. Southern New England gusting really 60 to 70 miles per hour. Same thing for areas along the Massachusetts coastline before this is moving on out. But guys, I mean, these winds are going to be incredibly strong. And then in the Maine, these could be even stronger. This Jonesport area, 81 miles per hour. That is hurricane force winds. Guys, that is insane. Those are your wind gusts, not sustained winds. But we're going to see widespread power outages. We're going to see school closures. Guys, things are not looking good for areas in the eastern U.S. All right? So that's going to wrap up that system. That's going to be Winter Storm Finn, if you want to know the name. I just want to quickly run through this. We're looking at our this is our 6 to 10 day temperature outlook on the weather prediction or climate prediction center. I apologize. We're going to see what we call an Arctic outbreak. We're going to see a burst of cold air that I've been tracking myself for about 10 to 15 videos in the past. We've been looking at the temperature anomalies. I warned of a maybe historic Arctic blast, and we're gonna see that in the next few days. We have going out from January 16th to 17th, we have a what looks like a 80 to 90% chance of below average temperatures in this entire region of the high plains and the upper Midwest. But guys, that is a massive area and a big, a good certainty in that forecast that we're going to see below average temperatures. But guys, even the surrounding areas, all of the western and central United States appear to be having a good chance for seeing below average temperatures. And then in the eastern U.S., we hang on to dear life for near normal temperatures, but that is a big signal, guys, for below average temperatures, and that's coming right through that classic, area that would usually be impacted by an Arctic blast. So it's going to bring us to our temperature anomalies. All right, we're looking at the European model on our temperature anomalies, showing us who's going to be warmer than average, who's going to be colder than average. We're already starting out cold in the west. That's going to be definitely favorable for more cold to settle in. But when does that big, blast come in? Well, we can already see it starting to creep up by January 10th, which is Wednesday here. Now we're getting to Thursday, and we're already dealing with temperatures getting down. In this pink shade, we're getting down 12 to 16 degrees below historical average. All right, and if you are on average like 30 degrees in Montana, all right, or 25 degrees, all right, and you take away 20 degrees, you're at 0 degrees, and those wind chills could make it even colder. But this continues, and look how cold we get. This is historic, life-threatening cold. If we see temperatures get down, this far below average, we'll click for Sunday. Negative 42 degrees. Negative 42 degrees. That is life-threatening cold. All right, this is going to cause massive problems. This is maybe a historic Arctic outbreak, and guys, this is just looking incredible. The European model is just putting the hammer down on the northwestern United States. This is crazy how cold it might get, and those wind chills may make it feel even colder. And that, this is life-threatening, guys. You need to stay heated. All right, but this is going to last for a few days, and it's going to spill and continue to settle into the western United States. We look at why this is happening. Why on earth are we getting so cold all of a sudden? Well, look at this. If you look at the North American side of things, all this warm air, all that ridging that we saw in December, it's all up here. It's way up into areas of Canada. Here we can see it's kind of flipped. We went from warm air in the United States to warm air in Canada, but we can see Atlantic Canada very warm, and then up towards the northern hemisphere, we are well above average. That's going to lead to very cold temperatures diving down into areas of western Kansas and then into the western United States. But oh my gosh, is it going to be cold? Yes, it will be, and it's going to be dangerous. All right, but that continues to settle into the United States by the 16th, and we're just in a pattern that is going to be leading to monster storm systems. All right. So finally, we look at the GFS model. This is the latest GFS on your future storm systems. We look at what's going to be happening after Winter Storm Finn. Winter Storm Finn moves out. We see leftover energy coming in behind it. I'm watching a storm system just around the 12th, which would be Saturday. So it's about a week out. We have been getting a signal of a low that moves through the southeast. We see heavy snow impacting the deep south. That moves up into the northeast, becomes a very strong system, though, kind of similar to Winter Storm Finn, but nothing near how strong. And then that moves up and out. But you've got a very intense, blast of cold air moving down. This is right when that historic Arctic outbreak begins, and you can see that massive dip in the jet stream. And then we see what happens past that. We're getting pretty far out, but we see another signal for a storm system bringing more wintry precipitation. And that moves into the northeast, kind of an icy situation for New England. All right, and that moves out. So I'm just going to stop it here because the video got very long. All right, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. So stay safe out there, guys. I'll try and be with you guys tomorrow. It's going to be hard. Probably not, actually. So I apologize if I don't get to do an update for you guys tomorrow. Very busy tomorrow, but stay safe out there. Severe weather. It's a blizzard. I'm going to be active with my community tab, which you can locate on my home channel page. Just find it in the upper part of your screen. I'll be posting updates on anything that happens to our forecast here. But Winter Storm Finn is here. All right, it's going to be happening tomorrow. It's going to be happening Tuesday. It's going to be happening Wednesday. And I'm going to try my best to keep you guys updated and posted on whatever happens weather-wise across the country. All right, so thank you all for coming to watch this video, and I'll see you guys.